Hey guys, in this video I want to share with you everything that I brought with me on my Basin and Range Trail through hike. And this is my complete BRT gear list. And the Basin and Range Trail is an absolutely epic new 1,100 mile through hike route that I created and hiked through central Nevada earlier in 2020. Absolutely amazing experience. Some of the most wild and desolate places I've ever been. Actually stunning landscapes, believe it or not. A lot of hidden gems, a lot of variety in the state. And just hands down, the greatest adventure I've ever been on in my life. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the Basin and Range Trail, click on the link above. So if we break up everything that you carry with you on trail, you've basically got everything you carry in your pack and everything to carry on your person. So we'll start with everything outside of the pack first. This is stuff I wore basically every day on me. So the shoes I wore are Brooks Cascadia 13s. These are basically old stock. They're on at least the 14s, if not the 15s now. But I've had a couple of these laying around because I stocked up on them. Great shoes. I love them. Brooks is good stuff. Sunglasses. These are Numa Ballistic Series sunglasses. They're very expensive, to be honest, but basically if you don't lose them, these are the last sunglasses you'll ever own. Good to go. Hey! And the watch I wore is a Casio Pathfinder. It tells the time. It's got barometer and you know, temperature and all these other things on it. I use it for temperature sometimes, leave it outside my tent. You know how cold it was in the morning when you woke up and that sort of thing. Other than that, the barometer function doesn't really work that well, you know, in terms of like letting you know of an approaching storm. I find it's pretty erratic. And then it's got a compass function, which I guess is nice as like an extreme backup, you know, like if you couldn't figure out what direction you're going, or you don't have a GPS or your phone or whatever. This is the hat I wore. This is my favorite hat for a while, my Rapala hat, and I modified it with these snaps on it so that I can use the sun flap on my outdoor research sun hat. Now, when I'm done wearing this thing, I can take this off and have like a normal looking hat when I go into town, and just not some ridiculous looking, like, I don't know, novelty hat or whatever. And that's the way the sun hats always feel. It's like, why can't you just make a normal looking hat that also blocks the sun? And if you want to learn how to convert your favorite hat to a sun hat like I did, and how to put these snaps on here, you can click on the link above, and I've got a video that shows you how to do that as well. These are the socks I wore. They are darn tough hiker socks. I used to wear the really thin like trail runner socks, and they're great, but they're not as durable. These are more durable. My worry initially is that these are going to be too hot for my feet, which sweat a lot. So that's why I went with the lighter ones. But after just, you know, wearing them on the CDT and then like half of the Basin and Range Trail, I finally upgraded to the thicker hiker socks. They're a lot more durable, and I found they had very little effect on the temperature of my feet anyway. And then for gaiters, I have Dirty Girl gaiters. Been wearing these for many years now. They're very lightweight and they work well with the flap on the back of the Brooks Cascadia here. It's got this little Velcro strap that accepts the back of the gaiter here. Shoes that don't have this built in, you have to glue a little piece of Velcro here to work with this piece of Velcro on the back of this. So that's a very nice function of the shoe. For boxers, Patagonia Capilene boxers. These are the ones that gave me like the least amount of wedgie after kind of extensive testing on these really over the years. This is a belt for my shorts, and honestly I have no idea where I got this belt, but it's just like a basic belt, you know. These are like the same buckles you'd find on a backpack. And the shirt I wore every day was this Patagonia Capilene daily wear shirt. I think that's actually what they call it, daily wear. I believe they've changed it now. It's like a different style shirt. So this is like the older style. And these are Kuhl Renegade convertible zip-off pants shorts. I've been wearing these for years, and I mean, you know, I like them. I would say that their flaws are that a lot of the stitching comes apart fairly often on these things. Not to the point where they've fallen apart for me, but like the point where you start to worry. And then also the pant legs, which I keep on the outside here, And then sometimes the zipper, I've had this zipper basically break off, so then you have no way to control the zipper slide. It's just like the zipper pull that came off on one of them. And this is a buff. It's basically a neck gaiter, and you can do quite a bit with these. It's a pretty handy thing to have just in general. And then there's my larger electronics that I carried on me. My Sony Nex 7 camera. I've got a wide angle lens, 10 to 18 millimeter, and this works great for a lot of landscape shots. And I really wish I had a zoom lens and, you know, maybe a few other lenses and some variety there, but if I could take one lens with me, I think the wide angle is best suits my style of photography, which is mostly landscape. And this is my GoPro Hero 8. That's what I filmed the hike with, as well as this video. This is a grip / tripod. This is a plastic case for the GoPro, which provides a little bit of protection, gives me a little hot shoe mount up there. And then also, I've got this piece here. This is by a company called Motorads, and they make this piece that houses the Pro audio adapter. In order to use upgraded audio, like an actual external microphone like I have here, you need to use this adapter piece. So that's why this whole assembly is so big. Basically just because this little box here needs to process the audio from the microphone, which is a little bit hard to believe that they can't just build that technology into the GoPro. But nevertheless, this is my setup. So the other things I carried on me were my camera and my GPS. And the way I carried those was like this. So for my camera, I've got these custom clips here that I made to carry my camera. And this is a system that I came up with and made to basically carry my camera on the trail and have it easily accessible to use on a moment's notice. Now I'm ready to take a picture. I've taken my picture. Back to hiking in seconds. So if you want to learn how to make this system too, you can click on the link above and watch that video. And then for the GPS, I carried that on this little extra strap here. And I just clip it right here, and then I've got basically I put like a little piece of elastic shock cord around this, and then I put the GPS in here so it's not flopping around when you're bending down and things. The other good thing about this is that I can use my phone, and if I'm playing music, I can put this here and, you know, play an audiobook or play a song or whatever. And yeah, this is kind of flopping around now, but that's how I would hold my phone and listen to it if I wanted to. And then this is my Garmin 66i. This is a GPS / satellite text messenger. So I can hit the SOS button if I fall and break my back or whatever, and can text my dad that I didn't die that day. And this is the Garmin 66i. This is the first time Garmin's really taken the functions of a satellite messenger and merged them with a GPS unit. It's really way behind its time for what it should be. I mean, using your phone 10 years ago, we had better technology than what this is. This doesn't even have a touch screen. Actual buttons. Every time you want to scroll, you have to scroll with the little buttons. This is 2020. This is ridiculous. I mean, that's pretty pathetic right there. Also, I've noticed that it's not even close to as accurate as my old Garmin Orgon 450 was. You know, when I hiked the CDT, I would say that the accuracy of that was, you know, probably within 5%. This thing is like 25% off. I'm not even joking. I hiked maybe 80 miles and it said I did 110 or something miles like that. Absolutely ridiculous how far off this thing was. And finally, this is just a rag. Basically, these are Lightload Towels, and I cut these in half so you're left with like a 1 foot by 1 foot square. And I keep one in my side pocket on my shorts as a snot rag, which is what this one is, and the other one is in my back pouch here. And at the end of the day, I'll wipe off my shins and, you know, legs and feet and everything like that. Okay, so next we've got everything that's on the outside of the backpack. And we've got the trekking poles here, and these are Black Diamond Alpine carbon cork trekking poles. And what I've done is I've used Gossamer Gear LT4 cork handles on these poles in place of the regular handles. And I just really like these Cork handles, the feel of them. Didn't really do it for any weight savings, although they are a little bit lighter. I do have a video on this too if you want to learn how to put these handles on maybe a different pole. Check out the link above, and I've got a video explaining that process. And these are the trekking poles I use. These are Black Diamond Alpine carbon cork poles, and they support my tent, so that's the main reason I carry them. I don't really use trekking poles all that much these days, but I did use them occasionally. It was kind of helpful here and there. They're good poles. I've actually used these the entire CDT. I've got like 4,500 miles, 5,000 miles on these poles, something like that. And you know, they're still great. I haven't had any issues with these poles, so it's a really good solid pole. And I did make one modification to these poles. You can buy the cork handles here from Gossamer Gear. These are the handles from an LT4 trekking pole, Gossamer Gear LT4 pole. And these have always been my favorite handles. I really like these cork handles. They're a little bit lighter than what was on here, but it's the weight savings is so small. I didn't do it for that. I did it for comfort. So you can buy these handles and actually put them on here. It's a bit of a process to do, but it's actually very doable. I've got a video explaining that process. If you want to check it out, you can click the link above. It explains how to do that. So next is my sit pad. This is kind of a luxury item, I guess. You know, basically just sit on this and have a nice comfy seat to sit on when you take your breaks. Also, I use it outside of my tent. It's just nice to have like a clean surface to set some of your items on outside of your tent. These weigh next to nothing these days, so this is a great little thing to carry. This is my toilet paper bag. So I keep a roll of toilet paper in here, and my trowel is this titanium trowel here from a guy named, I think it's Q-Wiz. There's a link to his website in my gear list if you check my video description. It's a titanium, weighs next to nothing. Okay, and next we've got just another little towel here. This is the other half of my Lightload towel that I use as a snot rag. This is the one that I would use at the end of the day to wipe off my shins and feet and everything, try and clean up a little bit. Okay, and this is my hand sanitizer. You really don't need to use soap. You can use hand sanitizer after you go to the bathroom. Hand sanitizer works pretty well. And this is my water filtration kit right here. And on the BRT, I used a Sawyer filter. This is the full-size Sawyer filter. And I've got this blue attachment where it's just got like threads on both sides. So this goes onto one end there of my filter. I've got smart water bottles that I use to carry my water with. What I'll do is screw this onto the bottle. So you scoop your water out with this, pour it into this. It makes the process go a little bit faster. And then screw this onto this, and then do the whole squeeze thing. You know, squeeze your water into this bottle. You got to make sure that this isn't tight here, like all the way on tight. You got to have a little bit of air come out. That way the water can flow through it. If you don't do that, nothing flows through. Also, it was a pretty easy modification here to just like poke some holes in the very top of my platypus bag here. And in fact, they even have like these little punch out areas where it looks like it's kind of meant to do that. And you can poke a hole through, feed some cord through, tie like a large knot on the other side, and now you've got a gravity feed system that I can hang up from a tree or whatever and let this flow through on its own, you know, without trying to do the squeeze thing. So maybe if you're eating lunch or just doing some other chore, you're washing your socks in a stream, this can kind of go in the background and save you a little bit of time with the gravity feed setup. Now on the Basin and Range Trail, I had anywhere from a 2 to 8 liter water capacity, basically, depending on how dry the section was. But I actually made some modifications to my backpack, which I'm not going to talk about in this video, but it allowed me to hold 3 of these smart water bottles on each side of the pack, and then I could put like another 2 inside or whatever I wanted to do. So I've got a couple other odds and ends caps and things here in my water filtration bag in my little kit, and this is like a nipple that you could screw on, and then, you know, if this was hanging upside down, you could maybe wash your hands under it and then, you know, flip that back up or something. It's kind of a, I didn't really use this one too much, but I did have it. This is a cap for the platypus bag itself. And then this guy, this actually comes with certain smart water bottles. And this is actually really nifty. What you can do is you can back flush your Sawyer filter with this instead of carrying around that giant like needle looking plunger syringe thing. And you can see the size of that hole in there. This thing fits on it perfectly. And this is how you back flush your Sawyer filter on trail. You just squeeze this thing and watch all the dirty water come out. So you got to do this, you know, fairly often. I mean, depends on the clarity of your water, but it's something that you're going to wind up doing, you know, maybe every other day, maybe every day, depending on your water sources. And then finally, inside my water kit here, I've got just a piece of women's pantyhose. And this I didn't have to use all that much, but if you're filtering water from like a murky puddle or something like that, like a really muddy puddle, this will help pre-filter out a lot of the silt and keep it out of your Sawyer filter, you know. So you'd put this on, put it under water, and then it definitely slows down like the intake of water into the bottle. So you have to squeeze the bottle a little bit, and then it pushes air out, and then the suction will draw the water in. So it's a slower process. It's a pain in the ass, but you know, it helps you have clearer water from certain sources. And last but not least, we have the hip belt pockets. This is where I kept things that I want to keep easily accessible. I've got sunscreen, which I pretty much never used after like the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. And then chapstick. Also, I might keep a snack in here, like maybe a granola bar type, you know, thing to just eat throughout the day so I didn't have to take out my pack. In this pocket, I kept basically, you know, memory cards and batteries and things like that for my cameras and GoPro. So in this one, I've got 2 extra GoPro batteries, and then I've got this little sleeve that came with my sunglasses, and this is what you'd put your sunglasses in to protect them. But what I use it for, if I'm not using my sunglasses, is I'll put my good batteries inside this, and then the batteries that I've used throughout the day will remain outside of this black bag and just kind of, you know, float around in the Ziploc bag. You got to have some sort of system so you know which batteries are good and which ones are bad. And this is what works for me. And it also makes sense because it sounds silly like this providing warmth, but it gets really cold at night in Nevada. I mean, there's often like a 50-degree difference between the daytime and nighttime temperature. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. It could be 97 during the day and 47 at night. Is not a joke. So, you know, it's hot during the day, it's cold at night, and then, you know, you don't think about it, but that drains your batteries. Not at 47 degrees so much, but you get those nights where it's like in the 30s and things like that. Your batteries do drain, so you get a little bit of protection by keeping them just, you know, not like being blasted by the wind, but at least like insulated a little bit. And then in the other bag, I've got micro SD cards, little microfiber thing, clean my lenses. This is an extra microphone cover for my microphone and my GoPro. And then this is a memory card full of basically maps. There's like a backup. It's a backup SD card, and I've got maps on it that I could use in case my maps got cleared off my GPS. I put all of my used micro SD cards in this bag so that I know that I've used these, and then my good ones that haven't used are in this little box here. And then these are micro SD to SD card converters, so I can put a micro SD card in this and then use it in my Sony Nex 7 camera, which doesn't take micro SD cards, it takes full-size SD cards. On my GoPro, this is the waterproof cover for the battery. If you are using a microphone, you can't use this waterproof cover, and basically your GoPro is not waterproof if you're using a microphone. So I could switch this on if I wanted to use the GoPro underwater, which didn't really do that much in Nevada, but I did do it a couple of times. And this is an elastic piece of shock cord, and I would use this with my GoPro. The GoPro has like a grip, like a handle on it that I could, you know, like put this around a tree maybe, and then that way it's like pinned up against the tree and you can get a shot walking by this tree that you would otherwise have no other way to, you know, use the GoPro and like set it on the tree, right? so you can like strap it to a tree or a pole. Okay, so the pack itself is a Zpacks Arc Haul. What I like about the pack is that, you know, it's comfortable in the way that it carries the weight. It can carry a lot of weight fairly comfortably. It's actually, I've carried up to, say, 40 pounds with it, and, you know, it handled the load. So it does that fairly well. What I don't like about it is the side pockets were really, really small. I paid an upholstery shop to modify these pockets to be able to hold more water. The original pockets could hold 2 of these smart water bottles, and it was like so tight, like absolutely tight, just to get 2 in there. So if you wanted to use one of these smart water bottles in like one Powerade bottle, I couldn't get it to fit. And before this hike, I actually used Gatorade bottles more so than I use smart water bottles. So you're kind of forced to use smart water bottles when you buy an Arc Haul backpack. You're also pretty limited with your water capacity, given the fact that their side pockets are so small. So I really don't like the side pockets on them. They also advertise that you can you know, get something out of your side pocket easily. I guess I have limited shoulder mobility, but I really have a hard time believing that the majority of people can just reach back and get a bottle out of these the pockets the way that they were designed. So anyways, I didn't like that about the pack. Also, on the back, there's the arc webbing. See, the thing is with the Arc Haul is it's got this arc here. You can like cinch these down, and then it'll arch the pack more. And the idea is you get airflow in between your back, like where your back sits on this webbing in the actual backpack. And you know, I liked that about my Osprey Exos that I had before this pack. So it's kind of one of the features that drew me to this pack. And so the strap that attaches this webbing to like the frame of the backpack, this broke after like 5 weeks on trail. I emailed Zpacks, no response. Like 2 weeks later, I email them again. I get like a vague response. It took like 10 emails in like a month and a half to get a couple dollar replacement item from Zpacks. Zpacks, they're happy to take your money, but they're very, very slow when it comes to customer service. So you got to keep that in mind if you're going to deal with Zpacks. I'm not the only one to say it just because I had one bad experience. I'm not that dense. You could go on Reddit and, you know, Facebook and see plenty of people that have the same gripe with Zpacks customer service. So that's something you really do need to keep in mind if you're going to do business with Zpacks. All of that aside, they do make a fairly decent pack. It held up for me pretty well. I did some really heavy carries when it came to water and everything with, you know, let's say 8 days of food and then, you know, 8 liters of water. That's a heavy ass pack, right? So this pack was able to handle that weight. So it's a good pack in that sense. So now inside the pack, I've got all my clothes. And on this trip, I decided to use a bag for one of my old tents, one of my Tarptent tents, to keep all my clothes in. So it's a spare set of boxers. It's the same Patagonia Capilene daily wear boxers. And this is a shirt, Patagonia Capilene Kuhl lightweight. Really didn't wear this on trail much. I generally wore my long sleeve. This would be my shirt in town, or if I wanted a clean shirt to sleep in at night. These are Patagonia, and these are old style Patagonia Capilene base layer pants. And this is the new style Patagonia Capilene base layer, which looks a hell of a lot like their regular daily wear shirt. To be totally honest, it's like the same material and everything. And these, so the base layer top and the base layer bottom, pretty much wore those every night for my first several weeks on trail. It was cold enough at night in Nevada where you definitely wanted to have some long layers on. It's an extra pair of socks. So generally these would be on the outside of my pack back here because I washed them in a creek or at my water source, and they're back here like drying out during the day while I'm walking. And this is my warm hat. Believe it or not, I actually got a good amount of usage out of this too. I would sleep in this at night most of the first, you know, sections of the trail. So this is my rain jacket. This is the Zpacks Vertice rain jacket. I probably only wore the thing maybe 3 times on trail. Did a good job keeping the very little rain that I got off of me, so I really have no complaints, and without extensive use, I really can't say much about the jacket other than it worked for me the very little that I used it. These are my wind pants, which actually kind of doubled as my rain pants, and they did a good job of that as well. These are Enlightened equipment Copperfield pants, and these things are ridiculously light. I mean, it's like 1.5 ounces or something like that. Like, you don't even, they're just so light. So they worked pretty well for what I used them for. I don't think I have any rips or anything, and I do remember doing a fair amount of bushwhacking actually through South Twin River Canyon and the Toiletries, and a couple other places actually, and they didn't have any cuts or holes or anything, so it's actually fairly durable given its really lightweight nature. So next up we have the tent, and this is a Tarptent Notch Li or Lithium series, and this is the same tent I carried on the CDT, the regular Tarptent Notch. Now they make the same model of tent, the Notch, in the Dyneema instead of Sil Nylon. You can actually buy both, and I really liked the Notch and I was familiar with it, so I bought the lithium version to save a couple ounces. And Henry over at Tarptent was kind enough to sell me just the outer fly, and I could reuse my inner mesh from my old Notch with the new Dyneema fly, because that's where all the weight savings is. It's the same inner mesh, it just has a new outer fly. So that saved me like $200. This is my Tyvek ground sheet that I used under the tent. And then my stakes, I used MSR groundhog stakes. Man, these things are bulletproof. If you're ever looking for a good tent stake, the MSR groundhog stake has got to be the best stake they make. I've been using these exact stakes for 4,500 miles or more, 5,000 miles. The same stakes. These things are solid. They never bend, they never break, they're really strong. I really love these stakes, and you can count on these things to not bend on you. And this is an OpSaks. These are odor-proof bags, and this is what I carry my food in. I've been using these for about 10 years now, and I really believe in these bags. I really like these bags. The idea is that animals can't smell your food, and then they won't come and investigate your camp. And that really seems to be the case for me. I've never had any animal once ever steal my food or like try and chew through my bag or anything. So I gotta say, these things work. If you hang your food, the animals are still gonna smell the food, right? So they'll be attracted to it. They're gonna have a hard time getting to it. But with this, they won't even know it's there. So you can use these in addition to hanging food as well, but I don't even bother because, well, first of all, this was Nevada, and where am I gonna hang food from anyway? And secondly, it's not really bear country. You just don't really have to worry about it other than rodents and things like that. So anyways, OpSaks, they're really good. So this is a bag full of extra Ziploc bags. There's a couple quart bags, a couple sandwich bags. And then I've got an extra Sawyer filter squeeze bag in case my platypus bag that I was using breaks. I've got this as a backup. Well, this is my fleece. This is a Patagonia R1 3/4 zip pullover. I really don't like this thing at all. This has been the worst hoodie I've ever had. I've also had an Arc'teryx Fortress hoodie and a REI brand fleece hoodie, and by far this is my least favorite one. It's got this different material at the bottom that's like, it's for weight savings, right? And I get it, but it's just the putting the thing on is just awful. It doesn't just like smoothly go over you. It's always sticking on something. It's a funky material. The hood on it, like it comes up to like here, and it's just all over your face. I really don't like a single thing about it, but it's pretty much the lightest one out there, and I figured I'd give it a shot since I wasn't going to be wearing this all that much on this trip, and I really didn't. It worked out. It also doubles as my pillow at night. This is my Patagonia Houdini wind jacket. I really like this thing. I've had this for a couple of years now. I had it on the CDT, and it's just a great jacket. It's comfortable, it fits right, cuts the wind like it's supposed to, it adds a little extra warmth. It's not too hot, you know, it's fairly breathable. I just like every single thing about it. It's the exact opposite of the Patagonia R1. I wear this probably more than anything else. This is like the first thing I would put on in the morning when I get up. This is what I'm wearing, you know, generally like later in the evening when it cools off a little bit, right before bed. If it's windy, you know, up on a ridge line, I'm wearing this thing. I'm pretty much wearing this thing every day at some point. And this is my air mattress. It's a Thermarest Neo Air. It's a regular size. I've had this on the CDT, the second half of the CDT, and then all of the Basin and Range Trail. So it's got something like, 120 nights or so on it. It's still going. It's got a couple of holes that I patched along the way. I've got to put air in it a couple of times a night, but it's a really comfortable night's sleep. And it hasn't developed the same delamination or bubble that my previous Neo Air did. And this is my sleeping bag. This is a Hammock Gear Burrow 40. This is a 40-degree sleeping bag, and this is what I carried with me throughout the whole Basin and Range Trail. And, you know, it's a quilt, so this is, you know, it's just basically a square, and then this is the foot end, and the foot end will snap together like so, and then there's like 3 or 4 or 5 more snaps that go to like here, so it'll snap up to, you know, maybe your knee. And then on the bottom, you know, you can adjust the bottom here with the drawstring, so it can be closed when it's cold, open, you know, poke your feet out and give yourself some airflow. So I really like having, you know, the versatility that these quilts offer over a regular mummy sleeping bag. And the 40-degree bag was, I'll say, not enough really to be warm. There was a couple of nights where I had like all my clothes on and stuff. I think it was in the 20s, but there weren't many nights like that. And for me, it's worth carrying a 40-degree bag, you know, 1 or 2 nights out of a 2-month trip where I know I'm going to be uncomfortable, versus carrying a 20-degree bag and having it be, you know, too much for a good portion of the trip and really only, you know, really needed like 1 or 2 nights. You know, I'd rather have the weight savings of the lighter bag. So inside the backpack, I've got a compactor bag, and that's what all of this stuff basically sits inside of this compactor bag. And this is basically like a waterproofing layer. Now, the backpack itself is a Dyneema grid stop fabric, which is supposed to be waterproof. And as far as I can tell, it is. I've had this thing out in the rain with no cover on the backpack for, you know, the entire 2-month trip, and I didn't get that much rain, but it did rain on me a couple of times, and many times it was like pooling up, and you know, water was definitely like dripping off. The whole thing was completely soaked, and then all the vegetation is soaked, so the pack was as soaked as it could get, and I had nothing coming through even on the outside of my compactor bag. So I know the fabric is pretty waterproof. You just have to worry about, you know, did you get a rip in it? Even something as small as, you know, like a couple of, you know, thorns or something. You rip a hole in it, and then your waterproofing layer is basically compromised. So that's why I carried this bag, kind of just as an insurance against that. So that's actually it for the inside of this backpack. So now I'm left with these 3 bags, and this is basically toiletries, camera gear, and then this is all the extra stuff I carry, like backup batteries, maybe some extra guy line, lighter, first aid kit, that kind of thing. So this is my toiletries bag, and really I just used an old Thermarest bag for my like ditty bag here, and then I've got a thing of wet ones. If it's if I don't have any water at the end of the night, which was basically every night in Nevada, I would use these to wipe off my feet and shins just a little bit, just so I wasn't completely filthy getting into my sleeping bag. If you're blind like me and have to wear these stupid glasses, well, these are the glasses that I wear when I take my contacts out at the end of the night. We got toothpaste, toothbrush, which is this guy, and then this comes out here. So that's how that breaks down. Contact lens solution. This is an old Visine bottle, and if you take this off and then you take this nipple off, you can take your contact lens solution and squirt it inside this bottle. And I find this size, the larger size of the two sizes that Visine comes in, is good enough for at least a week. And then contact lens case. In this bag I have extra contact lenses. So I've got an extra pair, Q-tips, and then pills. Ibuprofen, headache medicine, antihistamines, sleep aid, and anti-diarrhea. And I keep this little white piece of paper in there. It just basically tells me what pill is what, so I don't forget. So somebody else that goes in my bag, you know, like if I'm, you know, incapacitated or something, and also, you know, when you're flying through the airport, if they ever search your bag, I don't know if this helps. Inside this blue bag we have backup battery and chargers and cables. Now, when I started the hike, I started with just this battery, and I found it wasn't nearly enough. Now, this battery is a couple years old now. I used it on the CDT and it was fine, but like I said, it's a couple years old now. I think it's lost a little bit of capacity. That and my GoPro 8 uses a little bit more battery than the 4 did, so I find them burning through batteries faster. So this wasn't enough. I ended up replacing this with two of these 13,000 milliamp batteries. This is a 20,000, so 6,000 more milliamps. And then I used these for a good part of the trip, and then I realized this is enough to do the job, but if I wanted to do anything else like long time lapses of the night sky or play music on my phone, this wasn't really going to be enough. I was also using my phone for navigation throughout the day, more so than my GPS. So my battery usage, I think, was a little bit more than it might have been on the CDT. So I found that this wasn't enough. So by the last 2 sections, I used all of these batteries for 46,000 milliamps of charging power. So that was definitely enough. It was definitely overkill, but I was honestly just tired of worrying about, will I have enough battery power or not? Now, this bag is all the cables and chargers for all my camera stuff. This is the charger for my Nex 7 camera. It's my GoPro charger, and then these are wall chargers so that I can run this charger and this charger and then charge these and then also charge my phone. So that's why I have 2 of these with 4 ports, so I can charge all of my devices at once, because it would take me so long to charge all these things in a hotel that I couldn't charge all of them in one day when I just had one, because this would take 10 hours, I think on its own, 10 or 12 hours, and this was like, you know, 7 hours or whatever it was. So to do those and then charge 4 GoPro batteries, I had to do 2 of these and then 2 of these again and then 1 of these and then charge my phone. It was just too much with one, so I had to add a second one. And these are all the cables that go with all of these chargers here. And this bag is all my, it's kind of like my junk drawer basically. I've got my CDT little ditty bag here, which is kind of cool. I got this on trail days in 2018 in Silver City. So this is my headlamp. It's an old Petzl Tika 2. These are probably a little bit outdated compared to what they have now. I know everybody's using lighter versions that are rechargeable and everything. I still have kind of like an old school one that takes 3 AAA batteries. This is my knife. It's a Buck Nano. I think it weighs 0.6 ounces. Very, very small, very light. Really, you don't need anything more than that on trail. This is a Gerber dime multi-tool. This is pretty much the smallest multi-tool that I could find. I wanted something that had pliers. And then, you know, it's got like screwdriver and then a pair of scissors, really. And this is another good one because you can cut your nails with this. Like, works pretty well. So I cut my nails on trail with this the whole time. Didn't have to bring nail clippers. This is my first aid kit. Antibiotic ointment, iodine wipes, latex gloves, you know, Band-Aids, butterfly enclosures, gauze, Band-Aids, gauze pads, aqua tabs. These are kind of like a backup to treat your water. Like if I just completely lost my water filter or whatever, I could drop a few of these tablets in the water and it would at least treat it, make it safe to drink. I definitely trimmed down my first aid kit after my hike on the CDT. My first aid kit was probably 3 times as big as this one on the CDT. And in this bag is really just, this is the true junk drawer of my entire backpack. Sharpie marker, sometimes you have to make a sign if you're trying to hitch into town or you need it for the post office. Duct tape. Oh, we got a Type A patch here. This is what you use to patch holes in the Thermarest air mattress. This also goes with the Thermarest air mattress patching kit. A couple things of super glue. And these are 2 extra washers for the Sawyer filter. These are kind of a weak point on the Sawyer, and these have been known to just basically fall out of the filter, you know, when you're disconnecting it, or maybe they get chewed up or something. So kind of really important actually to have these. Little Bic lighter. It's just like a really basic sewing kit, like a little bit of thread and a needle. 3 extra AAA batteries, and these are extra batteries for this headlamp. I didn't really carry these the whole time. I think I brought in my last section because the battery was getting a little low on this, but not quite low enough. Brought a pen so you can write with things in town. For whatever reason, it was leaking a little bit. Leaking purple ink. Yeah, so I don't want to get purple all over all my stuff. Rubber band. This is extra Dyneema. This is like the material that my tent is made out of, so I can patch my tent if I need to. This is just like a, basically a tie wrap. And I had a little bit more of this guy line, but I used it for a few things along the way. I keep a little bit more of it with me. So that actually came in handy. This is an alcohol prep pad, and that's what you use in conjunction with the patch kit for your Thermarest air mattress. You want to clean the area you're going to patch first. And then this is a piece of tenacious tape, just another patching tool. And when I was staying at the hostel in Tonopah, there was a guy there that was used to work in some mines and knew quite a bit about rocks. And we were talking about rocks for quite a while, and he ended up giving me this jeweler's loupe. So I carried this with me the rest of the time in the Basin and Range Trail. So this is again kind of like a little bit of a luxury item. So at the end of the day, my base weight with all this stuff, including my camera gear, which was about 5 pounds, was 17 pounds. So I had my base weight, not including my camera gear and electronics, down to 12 pounds with this setup here. So I was pretty happy with that, especially compared to where I was on the CDT. About a 21 pound base weight with my camera gear, and maybe 15, 16 without. And all in all, I was really happy with all of the gear that I had on this trip and the way it performed outside of the issues I had with my Zpacks backpack and their customer service. And there you have it. There's my complete gear list for the Basin and Range Trail. I hope you found the video informative. If you did, hit that thumbs up button, shoot me a like, shoot me a comment. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. I'll be back.